Ethan capitalized on my family's backing and eventually reached great heights. However, he later siphoned off our family's funds. He floored the accelerator, causing my demise, and then fled the country with his beloved to enjoy a carefree existence. It was at that moment I realized he only pursued me after gaining access to my family's wealth and resources. When I regained consciousness, I found myself reliving the day he professed his love, presenting me with a bouquet of roses. With his most intense look, he asked, "Sarah, will you be my girlfriend?" I responded with a laugh. "Be my dog." He replied, "It's worth $1 million a month, but you must be neutered. Now it's my turn to perish." Ethan's smile froze in disbelief. "Sarah, what did you just say?" I laughed it off, saying I was joking, but his expression darkened. "This isn't the time for jokes." My smile faded as I became serious. "Oh, really? But you were the one who joked first." He stood by the bathroom door, holding wilted flowers he likely scavenged from a trash bin. "That's a joke. In my past life, I thought he was merely poor, which explained his pathetic confession. I had rejected him, but later orchestrated an extravagant proposal on the day he killed me. He confessed that his actions were intentional. Flowers from a trash can are more than sufficient for someone like you." Ethan didn't grasp my meaning. He assumed I had misinterpreted his confession and attempted to clarify, but I interrupted him. "In our social circle, reputation is everything. Your type of confession is disgraceful." When asked what happened, "What do you expect me to say?" Ethan fell silent. He had been leveraging my connections and networks, gradually eroding his reputation because he couldn't afford to tarnish his image. I pitied my former self who had spent money to support him, fix his issues, and ultimately led to my death. Before my demise, he accused me of stripping him of the dignity a man deserves. Believing that was his perspective, I vowed to respect him without using money to undermine his male pride. Now, with no one around, Ethan discarded the flowers, his eyes brimming with anger. "Sarah, are you looking down on me because I'm poor?" One of his roommate's girlfriends had left her boyfriend for a wealthy, balding man in his 50s. Ethan always used that to manipulate me, saying, "Sarah, you won't abandon me for money, right?" I would feel devastated and continue throwing money at him, believing it would provide him security. This time, I withdrew my hand, smiling serenely. "My dog costs over $1 million a month. What makes you think you can sway me with empty sweet talk?" I walked past him and canceled our reservation. He didn't deserve a meal at the $2,000 a head romantic restaurant. Ethan chased after me, his voice lowering as he threatened, "Sarah, you'll regret this." How absurd. What is there for me to regret? I retorted, driving straight to my countryside manor to enjoy the hot springs and start anew, leaving the past behind. I stayed at the manor for a week. Ethan didn't reach out, likely waiting for me to apologize after I'd shown him too much respect, giving him the audacity to act this way. Upon returning, a friend who owns a bar called me. "Your boyfriend's drunk over here. Can you come get him?" My heart sank. The comment made me uneasy since we weren't officially together, but my friends had already assumed we were in a relationship. I had granted Ethan too many privileges, making him think he could control me completely. In my previous life, he acted obedient and sweet, with occasional tantrums. I thought it was just typical couple dynamics and went along with it, unaware of his deeper ambitions. Recalling my gruesome death, my voice turned cold. "If he can't pay, call the cops." My friend was visibly shocked. "Are you serious?" I explained Ethan's bathroom confession so they understood why I couldn't reconcile, preventing anyone from trying to mediate. My friend was furious, saying I'd spent too much on him with gifts even when he was broke. Selling a few items could have enabled a proper proposal. "He's a freeloader without self-awareness. Don't worry, I won't let him get away with this." My friend contacted the police, and the intoxicated Ethan was taken to the station. Ethan had no connections in the city, having come for school, and me being his primary contact. The police reached out first. "Hello, this is the police. Your friend Ethan dined and dashed at a bar. The owner has requested mediation." I agreed without hesitation. Then I called another number. "Hello, Dr. Smith. Their student Ethan was caught skipping out on a bar tab and taken to the station. The police contacted me." My suggestion is you handle it, Ethan's counselor replied cautiously, not immediately trusting me. No problem. I recorded everything, I stated as the police officer's voice was clear, with whispers in the background, an unexpected advantage. Thank you for informing me, the counselor responded coldly. He must be livid with Ethan now. Teachers dislike it when students get into trouble. As a senior, expulsion would waste his college years, and a demerit would taint his record, affecting future opportunities. The next day, Ethan sobered up and angrily messaged me. Sarah, are you insane? How could you call my professor? I might get expelled now. You need to apologize and get him to drop the charges. A week passed without him learning his lesson. Frustrated by his incessant complaints, I blocked him. After a grueling 2-hour workout, I limped home. Ethan was lounging on my sofa in a bathrobe, shamelessly eating watermelon while watching the game. I was irritated that I forgot to delete his fingerprint from the system when he heard the door open. Without looking up, he frowned. Why are you back so late? I've been waiting for you for an hour. I'm starving, I sneered. He was ravenous but wouldn't cook or order takeout, clearly waiting for me to return and exploit my resources. I recalled the first time he entered my home, showing obvious longing. I don't have big dreams. I just want to come home after work to a warm meal, a light on, and a hot meal waiting, no matter the hour. His eyes sparkled with anticipation, but I couldn't comprehend his mindset. Foolishly, I responded, Then you'd need to prepare a room for a housemaid. Ethan's eyes dimmed. He neither agreed nor disagreed, changing the subject. Since then, he subtly hinted at wanting a good wife to cook for him. When I ordered takeout, he complained it was unhealthy. At restaurants, he devoured the food but insisted nothing matched homemade meals. When I hired a maid, he dismissed domestic services as scams, saying, You can do many things yourself. Why waste money? Because of this, I enrolled in a cooking class. When Ethan discovered he complained again, cooking is simple. Why take a class? My mom cooks well. She can teach you later. He canceled my class, continuing to criticize takeout, restaurants, and maids. I couldn't see he wanted me to act as a second mother, catering to his needs. In college, I had a financially savvy roommate who always found ways to save money. In my past life, I thought Ethan was just like that roommate, frugal and practical. When he noticed I wasn't moving, he impatiently said, I'm starving. What are you doing? I smiled faintly and took out my phone. Ethan didn't mind, thinking I was ordering takeout. 3 minutes later, the property caretaker and security arrived, dragging the barely dressed Ethan out. No, Sarah, what are you doing? Tell them to let go of me, I ignored him, took photos and posted them in the community group with the caption, Pervert spotted. Everyone be cautious. In Ethan's panicked eyes, I deleted his fingerprint from the system, had the maid pack his belongings, and sent him back to his dorm. I was shocked by how much he had left behind. I hadn't realized he often found excuses to stay over. He was a student sponsored by my parents. Initially, he called me sister, then Sarah, blurring our relationship from sibling-like to romantic. I treated him like a younger brother, but as our relationship shifted, I became more attentive. However, he was shameless, so I decided to tarnish his reputation. Ethan couldn't enter my community, so he lingered around my school, especially the girls' dormitory, attracting suspicious looks. I took a different route, but encountered Ethan's girlfriend, Rachel, at the dorm entrance. With her long, straight black hair and white dress, she resembled a little goddess from law school, possessing striking natural features and bone structure. In my past life, I was confused why Ethan, with such a beautiful girlfriend, was interested in someone like me. Only after dying once did I realize his true affection was always for Rachel. It was laughable how he deceived me, claiming he was tired of seeing Rachel since childhood and was attracted to my freshness. Driven by hormones, I never doubted him and even took extra care of Rachel, believing she was his childhood sweetheart. Rachel often acted as a peacemaker between us. I thought their relationship was pure, unaware they had been intimate. When I was busy with studies or work and not around Ethan, they used my money for hotel rooms. When I died, Rachel confessed beside me, saying, If it weren't for your money, Ethan wouldn't have paid attention to you. Seeing her familiar face again, I felt nothing but repulsion. Rachel offered a gentle smile. Sarah, don't be mad at Ethan. He's just immature and thoughtless. I apologize on his behalf. don't take it to heart." My teeth ached. How had I not sensed her insincerity? Seeing my silence, Rachel continued, "Ethan, Sarah, our family isn't well off. The roses were cheap, but I've scolded Ethan. He won't do it again." In my previous life, they completely deceived me. I never suspected a girl with hidden agendas. Being too forgiving and naive, I was always used by Rachel. I stopped opening the door and confronted her. "Rachel, what is your relationship with Ethan? What gives you the right to apologize on his behalf?" She didn't expect my aggressive tone. Biting her lip, tears welled up quickly, and she looked pitiful. "But crying in a storm without her knight in shining armor to blame me was foolish, Rachel." A sharp voice startled me from behind. Ethan rushed over, pushing me aside and pulling Rachel behind him. "Sarah, how could you bully Rachel?" His favoritism was obvious. In my past life, I hadn't noticed Ethan's protectiveness over Rachel because we always got along. Reflecting back, I realized it was my naivety. Ethan had chosen Rachel over me numerous times, picking her up first in the rain, ordering her favorite dishes first, claiming he had a driver and Rachel only had him, insisting she hadn't eaten certain foods before and ordering them for her first. With all these signs, I trusted them and refused to question their relationship. When Ethan pushed me, my hand went numb. He didn't notice my pain and turned to wipe Rachel's tears. "Rachel, are you okay? Don't cry. I'll stand up for you." Ethan faced me angrily, apologized to Rachel. Rachel tugged his sleeve, tears streaming down her lashes, looking pitiful. "No, Ethan. Rachel, don't speak for her." Before he could finish, I slapped him loudly in the empty hallway. Ethan was stunned, clutching his face in disbelief. "Sarah, did you just hit me?" Rachel looked heartbroken and indignant. "Sarah, if you have a problem, come at me. How could you hit Ethan? Come at her." I raised my hand and slapped Rachel too. I remembered now. In my past life, Rachel was the one who hit the accelerator, leading to my death. I pushed the bewildered pair aside, reinserted the key, opened the dorm door, and went inside. Outside, I heard Rachel sobbing and Ethan cursing as other dorm mates emerged to scold them for the noise, forcing them to leave reluctantly. Before departing, Ethan threatened, "Sarah, if you don't apologize to Rachel, don't expect me to forgive you." Shamelessly, he acted as if he had the right to say such things. I recalled Rachel showing me photos of her and Ethan being intimate, her face twisted with pride. "I've slept in your bed more times than you." Rachel's vivid image lingered in my mind, hard to erase. I rushed to the restroom and began dry heaving over the toilet, feeling disgusted. Their threats seemed final, but just 3 days later, Rachel appeared before me again. I was eating and it ruined my appetite. She sat across from me with a plate of meager congee and side dishes, looking pathetically poor compared to my full plate of meat and fish. "Sarah, last time Ethan misunderstood you. I've already explained everything to him. I'm really sorry. Rachel was more capable than Ethan, more patient and clever. She only mentioned Ethan's misunderstanding, skipping the part where I slapped them, showcasing high-level manipulation. You both genuinely like each other. Don't let a small misunderstanding tear you apart." Rachel stirred her bowl of congee but didn't eat. I turned to her confused. Why? In the past, I always complained she ate too little, barely maintaining her figure with just congee. Every time she brought congee and sat beside me, I forced her to eat more, piling meat on her plate. When I first met Rachel, she was skin and bones with a strong sense of pride, eyeing the meat in my bowl but stubbornly insisting she needed to stay slim with just congee. After a few times, I couldn't stand her eager eyes and forcefully gave her proper meals. I didn't strip her of her pride. I merely insisted she ate too little around me, making me look like a pig. Reluctantly, she complied. See, good intentions lead to no good outcomes. I ignored Rachel and continued eating my ribs. She swallowed unconsciously. Sarah, I kept ignoring her, knowing someone would intervene for her. Ethan's shamelessness was boundless. Spoiled for long enough, he believed the help was his right. I slapped his pointing hand away. Point at me again and I'll chop it off. My voice was icy. Ethan instinctively withdrew his hand, realizing he looked weak. He raised his voice to regain control. What did I say? Something wrong? You're mistreating Rachel and think you're justified. I stood up, raising my voice as well. Rachel, I'm not the school's student aid officer. If your family is truly poor, apply for financial aid from your college. I can buy you a few meals, but can't support you forever." I left with my tray, ignoring Rachel's embarrassed red face and Ethan's furious outburst. Rachel's family wasn't actually poor. They just favored sons. She secured admission to high school and college without any financial support from them. Ethan once suggested to my father that he sponsor Rachel. My dad sponsored her for a year, but stopped when he discovered she bought a $300 lipstick while still in high school. Deeply disappointed, my father changed the sponsorship method to directly paying tuition, accommodation, and meal fees for students, sending clothes and shoes each season, but this didn't include Rachel. In university, Ethan brought homemade gifts to thank my father, which I thought showed his gratitude as he continued to support his studies. The school had numerous aid programs, and anyone who applied and was verified received help to gain my father's favor. Ethan claimed that with my dad's assistance, he wouldn't need school aid. Rachel didn't apply for aid, purely out of pride as the law school's little goddess. She didn't want anyone to know she came from a poor family, relying on part-time jobs and Ethan's support to get by. After meeting me, her meals were mostly my responsibility, and she lived comfortably enough. She had long abandoned drinking congee, merely exploiting me and reflexively bought congee. For a week, Rachel didn't show up. Ethan hovered not far from me, looking heartbroken. Of course, it was all for show. I'm a visually driven person. In my previous life, Ethan's tactics always worked on me. Whenever he frowned, I would back down without him needing to say anything. Now, Ethan followed me to the academic building, talking on the phone in the stairwell. "Don't worry, Sarah. He has a soft heart. I've tested this many times. In less than 3 days, she will definitely surrender and reconcile with me. Next week is my birthday. I'll sweet-talk her into taking us to Central Park. We can have all the good cigars, booze, fish, meat, and delicacies we want." He tested me repeatedly, pushing my limits and forcing me to give in. He stepped on me, sucked my blood, and then kicked me away. I walked off quietly, found an empty classroom, picked up my phone, and dialed campus security. "Hello? There's been a suspicious person hanging around the girls' dorms recently. Can you increase patrols in that area?" A few personal items had gone missing from the girls' dorms last week after the call. I couldn't shake off the feeling. It had been tested many times. He made me skip classes to watch movies, pretended to be sick, called me away from competitions, or claimed he left his project files at home, making me drive alone to deliver them to deserted areas, disrupting my plans repeatedly to test how much I would sacrifice for him. Each compromise was, in his mind, a successful offering to tame me. Ethan excelled at giving me the silent treatment, playing the victim, and advancing by retreating. Reflecting on my previous life, right after Ethan and I became a couple, I introduced him to my parents. I thought since my father had praised Ethan before, he'd be thrilled to have such an outstanding person as my boyfriend's stepson. However, my dad didn't approve of us. He said, "Ethan is excellent and I admire him, but he can only be my subordinate or partner, never my son-in-law." I didn't understand. "Why, Dad? You clearly like him, so why not?" Back then, Dad tried to persuade me. Unequal family backgrounds can cause psychological imbalances. He may be good for you now, but it might just be for the advantages you bring him. If I cut him off, you praise him in front of Ethan but disparage him to me. Don't you think that's hypocritical, Dad? Ignoring his advice, I left home with Ethan without saying anything. Ethan sensed everything and hugged me with fake tears. "Sarah, don't be mad at your dad because of me." Then he pushed me back into the villa and walked away, distraught. After that, Ethan fell ill, half asleep, and called me crying, "Sarah, please don't leave me. You're all I have." It was as if a spell had been cast on me. I couldn't see through Ethan's pity act. Feeling sorry for him, I left home in the middle of the night to care for him, nursing him tirelessly for 2 days. When he recovered, he pushed further. "Sarah, you don't belong here. My background isn't good enough for you. You should go back." He was trying to drive me away, but tears streamed down his face, and he wouldn't let go of my hand. Feeling sorry for him at the time, I called my dad, had a big fight, and then moved out. This confirmed in my heart that Ethan was more important than my parents, and he became convinced I couldn't live without him. The more I gave in, the more he took me for granted and exploited me. When Ethan extended his PhD during our arguments, he blamed me, saying, "You look down on me, just like your father." It made me feel guilty, and I would concede more, training my compliance and bending myself for him to dominate. Clutching my phone tightly, hatred flared within. Sarah was caught by campus security and labeled a creep. Rachel rushed to clear his name, but since she didn't live in the graduate dorms, her statement wasn't valid. Desperate, she approached me. "Sarah, Ethan is really not a creep. He was just looking for you around the girls' dorms. He truly likes you. Please help him. Don't let him get that label." She also shed tears. If Ethan wasn't restrained, he'd probably come and scold me for bullying her. I looked up at the sky and saw a big white lotus. Casually, I grabbed a blank lab report sheet and scribbled a few lines. "Ethan and I know each other and recently had a disagreement. He was looking for me to apologize first. I would act nice to Ethan, let him feel satisfied, and then proceed to the next step." Rachel hesitated as she took the paper from me. "Sarah, is this enough? Maybe you should come with me to the security office?" I firmly retracted the document. "If you don't need it, I'll dispose of it," I stated firmly. She quickly clutched the paper as if it were a precious artifact. "I need it," I insisted, making my way back to the lab while Rachel hurried off to save Ethan. Later, when I emerged from the lab, I was handed a bouquet of roses with a note in Ethan's handwriting. Look at that. He can afford such an extravagant bouquet. He just never thought I was worthy of one. Regardless, I threw the flowers into the trash. Flowers from someone as worthless as me belonged there. For the next 5 days, Ethan continued sending flowers. I stayed in the lab to avoid being found. He kept leaving the flowers, and on the 6th day, Rachel approached me cautiously. "Sarah, Ethan's birthday is this Sunday, remember?" I nodded. She sighed in relief. "Ethan has been sending you flowers for days. You accepted them, so you're not angry anymore, right?" I didn't respond. Ethan is a man who always worries about maintaining his image. "Sarah, can you just let him off?" Rachel sometimes acts so innocent around me, as if she doesn't understand the world. If it weren't for my rebirth, I would have already seen her true colors and possibly let her deceive me again. I grabbed my phone and in front of her, booked a private room at a restaurant. Rachel couldn't hide her expression. She looked genuinely happy. "Sarah, have you decided what to get Ethan for his gift?" she asked. I shook my head, putting my phone away. Rachel's eyes sparkled mischievously. "Ethan got his driver's license 6 months ago. He's always wanted a car." I inwardly scoffed. If he wants a car, he can buy one himself. Why mention it, acting so self-righteous? I kept a calm face and nodded knowingly. Rachel walked away with a smug look, her eyes showing disdain for me. In my previous life, before my death, I had accused both of them of betrayal. Rachel had dismissed me, saying, "It's your own fault for being so foolish and letting us manipulate you. Besides, why should someone as dumb as you have so much?" Their faces overlapped in my mind, and I heard teeth chattering. My nails dug into my palm as I suppressed my anger. Back in the dorm, my roommate was there. She was eating chips and asked vaguely, "I heard you're gifting Ethan a car for his birthday." In my last life, I did gift him a car that week. I was busy with work, and he used the car to take Rachel to the beach. Good food, fine wine, stunning views, and a couple's hotel. I felt like the guardian of their relationship, investing money, time, and effort while they dishonored me. Early Sunday morning, someone drove the car to the hotel, surrounded by flowers with a white cloth draped over it. A convertible sports car was faintly visible. I slept until 5 p.m., then prepared to leave. Not for the restaurant, but for the airport. My parents were returning home today because National Day was approaching. They had traveled the world for years, but never spent National Day abroad in my previous life because I chose to stay with Ethan, who depended on me without any shame or responsibility. My parents severed ties with me in anger, but they still left me enough money to live comfortably. I had blindly chosen Ethan and hurt them. In this new life, I vowed never to harm those who loved me. Their flight was scheduled for 7:30 p.m. I arrived at the airport at 6:30 p.m. There were no messages or calls on my phone. I had reserved a restaurant for Ethan at 6, but the host didn't show up, so the guests began without me. That's Ethan's manners for you. He's accustomed to ignoring me, treating me like an accessory, and taking credit under my name. It's fine, let him enjoy himself a bit longer. At 7 p.m., Rachel texted me, asking why I hadn't arrived yet. I didn't respond. At 7:30 p.m., I greeted my parents. My father had thrived during a period of economic growth, but when he realized he couldn't keep up with the times, he gracefully retired, living off dividends and accumulated wealth. After I started college, they began traveling more, first on domestic road trips, then global adventures, always returning home for important dates and spending the rest of the year exploring the world. Since my rebirth, I had only video chatted with them. The last time I saw them in person was 5 or 6 years ago. I embraced my parents tightly, overwhelmed by the emotions of losing and regaining them, feeling more sorrow than joy. My mother patted my head. "What's wrong? Why are you crying?" I shook my head. "Nothing. I just missed you." My father's gentle voice spoke from above. "All right then, we'll stay home a bit longer this time so this little crybaby won't secretly shed tears again. They're really here with me." "That's wonderful," Rachel messaged again. "We're all here just waiting for you. Where are you?" "Sigh, the room invitation wasn't managed by me. They arranged everything. They really think they're someone so shameless." I turned off my phone, pressed the gas pedal, and headed home. At 9 p.m., my car parked smoothly in front of the villa. Our housekeeper had set up a table filled with delicious food. The enticing aroma was irresistible. After parking, Rachel called, but I didn't answer. She messaged, "Sarah, why aren't you here yet? Not coming? You all seem to be having a good time without me. We're waiting for you to cut the cake, to give the car and pay. You mean..." I had set my phone to Do Not Disturb and turned it off, going inside to dine with my parents. Spending time with family was far more enjoyable than seeing Ethan and Rachel's faces. At 11 p.m., I lay on my large bed watching a video. My cousin had shared it. In the video, Ethan was surrounded by people as he descended the stairs with an obvious smug expression. Compliments flowed in one after another. As Ethan approached the park's sports car, his expression shifted when the white cloth fell to the ground. 2 individuals were seated inside the car as it began to drift in circles. At the restaurant entrance, the crowd erupted in cheers. Ethan, enraged, grabbed a staff member. "Who are they? Why are they touching my car?" Hotel security rushed over, communicating via walkie-talkies. "There's trouble at the entrance." They hurried to the sports car and Ethan grabbed the driver by the collar. "Who are you? Why are you touching my car?" The surrounding crowd pulled Ethan away. "Where did this lunatic come from? A $4 million car and you think you can drive it?" The hotel manager arrived late, hurriedly apologizing to the car owners, but Ethan wouldn't let it go. "You're driving my car and you think you're in the right." He attempted to argue further, but was restrained by security. The manager, after receiving a report, confirmed Ethan was a stranger. "Mister, we understand if you're drunk, but please don't cause a scene at our hotel." Ethan insisted the car was his. Those with him confidently stated it was a birthday gift from his girlfriend, but the owners retorted, "And where's your girlfriend?" The crowd fixed their eyes on Rachel. "Are you sure this car is from you?" Rachel felt a slight thrill, enjoying being acknowledged as Ethan's girlfriend, but quickly denied it. She took out her phone and showed them my contact. "She's the one." Someone leaned in and laughed. "It's all just one-sided text from you." There was no reply. "What girlfriend? You guys must be imagining things." Loud laughter reached Rachel's ears. Her face turned red with embarrassment as she attempted to call me, but all she heard was an automated message. "The number you are calling is not in service." The crowd's laughter grew louder. The manager suggested a compromise. "Pay the bill and leave, and we won't pursue the matter of you causing a scene." All eyes were on Ethan. He seemed to regain his composure and grabbed Rachel's phone, dialing my number repeatedly, but only the automated message answered. Someone in the crowd speculated aloud. Are they planning to dine and dash? Suspicious and curious gazes were fixed on Ethan and Rachel. They appeared embarrassed and awkward, like monkeys in a zoo. In the hot and noisy environment, the flustered Ethan swung his fist and struck someone. The video ended with the sound of police sirens. My cousin texted, "This guy has been arrested before for not paying. After drinking, his teacher came, but couldn't cover the 15 grand restaurant bill. He's probably getting a criminal record." 2 minutes later, another text arrived. "Next time you have something like this, Remember to call me. Just one small request. Can I pick up the car myself? Taking advantage, but still asking for more. At least he's family, trustworthy, and won't betray me. Outsiders who are too greedy end up like Ethan. Back at school on Monday, I saw Ethan sitting downstairs, looking dejected. Rachel trailed closely, her eyes red as if she had been crying. Upon seeing me, she hurried over, looking deeply distressed. "Sarah, why didn't you reply to my text yesterday?" Before I could speak, Ethan pulled her behind him protectively. "Sarah, where's the car you promised?" I couldn't help but roll my eyes. "When did I say I was giving you a car? Did I whisper it in your ear?" Ethan's expression darkened further. "Then why didn't you show up at the restaurant yesterday?" I kept rolling my eyes. Why would I need to go to the restaurant? Ethan raised his voice, his chest heaving with anger. "You booked the private room. If you didn't go, who would pay?" Feigning extreme surprise, I responded, "I didn't go, but you still had your meal, right? A 15 grand meal, too." I exaggeratedly gestured towards 15 grand. "My whole family can't eat that much." Ethan was publicly criticized by the school and earned the nickname 15 grand. His face was dark as coal. "Did you do this on purpose?" I pretended to be scared. "Don't wrongly accuse me. It's your birthday, of course, you host. You ordered the food. What does it have to do with me? Just because you occupied the table I booked?" Ethan was fuming, and Rachel, like a timid rabbit, hid behind him. It seemed Ethan had yelled at her, too. She now wanted to minimize her presence, letting all of Ethan's anger be directed at me. I smiled kindly. Could it be Rachel miscommunicated? I never said those things. "Sandy, you always overinterpret. I've told you not to overthink." "See, now you've caused trouble for Ethan." Ethan glanced back, his anger evident. Rachel shivered slightly and whispered in her defense, "Sarah, I didn't—" Ethan immediately defended her. "Rachel isn't like what you say. Yesterday's meal bill was 16 grand. Hurry and pay up." I clutched my bag and stepped back. I didn't even step into the restaurant. I didn't see or eat any food. Why should I pay? You booked the room. "If you don't pay, who will?" Ethan snatched my bag and took out my credit card. I couldn't retrieve it, and my belongings spilled everywhere. Seeing my disheveled state, Rachel even smirked. "Laugh all you want, but you won't be laughing soon." I collapsed to the ground, crying and gathering my things. A few people walked by, observing our little drama. My card was used in multiple fraudulent transactions, totaling tens of thousands. Meanwhile, an audio clip titled, "Rich Kid's Girlfriend Treats Everyone to Dinner but Refuses to Pay and Promises a Luxury Car" appeared online. The video had few views but started trending. I clicked and listened. It was my voice, altered with AI enhancements to sound real. "I booked the private room. 815 grand will gift you a car. Why should I pay?" In just 3 hours on a popular platform, live comments were pouring in. The next day, stepping outside, I became the center of attention. Some people aimed their phones at me to record. So I timidly retreated to my dorm, applied for leave from my teacher, and lay in bed. When I searched online, my personal information and high-resolution photos were posted. This one seems quite wealthy. Her outfit alone costs tens of thousands. Definitely not a scammer from our school. A rich kid. Just don't know what her family does. But she sure looks loaded. By the third day, I was labeled as a gold-digging slut who still dared to have a boyfriend. My roommate pulled my bed curtain open. "You scared me to death. Don't do anything drastic. Everyone who knows you is clearing things up online." Who's so cruel as to spread such rumors? I lay twisted in bed. Don't get attacked online because of me. My roommate nodded mechanically. My phone was inundated with messages. Some jerk had exposed my phone number, flooding me with thousands of messages daily. Eating the durian my roommate brought back, I happily watched TV. Normally, she wouldn't let me eat it, saying it smelled too bad. Now she feared I might do something drastic when she wasn't around. She was indulging me in everything. My advisor sent me dozens of encouraging messages daily, without pressure regarding experiments or thesis. Life was beautiful. My roommate thought my calmness was unsettling and went out to bring a psychologist for me. By the 4th day, rumors claimed I'd been cyberbullied to the point of a mental breakdown. Some clapped in delight, happy to see one less bitch in the world. Some felt remorse, saying I wasn't that bad. Others pointed out the false rumors, and some lamented the horror of cyberbullying. Of course, some still insisted I got what I deserved. When I opened my eyes on the 5th day, Ethan was staring directly at me. I quickly sat up and saw Rachel below me. My roommate looked helpless. "They both want to see you. Maybe they can clear things up for you." I wrapped myself in my blanket and curled into a corner. "What are you two here for?" Ethan's eyes lit up. "Sarah, do you remember me?" I smacked him on the head. "Idiot." Ethan's face stiffened. I smacked him again. "Idiot." Rachel pulled Ethan away, gazing at me with starry eyes. "Sarah, do you remember me?" I pinched her cheek briefly. "You're thick-skinned." I rubbed her face hard, smudging her makeup. "Ethan?" Rachel looked upset but couldn't do anything. Ethan tried to be patient. "Sarah, how about I take you home?" I kicked my foot out, almost hitting his face. "Home?" Ethan smiled slightly gloomily. I unexpectedly slapped him again. "Home, idiot." Ethan wanted to carry me downstairs on his back, but I refused. I insisted on riding on his shoulders like a horse. There were numerous flashing lights along the way. My roommate gave me a hat and a mask, leaving only Ethan and Rachel's faces visible. Ethan forced me into the car and drove to my house. My mother took me to my room while Ethan went into the study with my father. They had a lengthy conversation for 3 hours. 5 hours later, a clarification video appeared online. Ethan and Rachel revealed their full faces, but no one paid attention to the clarification. Instead, they focused on their appearances. I watched their video while indulging in the meals my family had prepared and called the police. I also instructed my lawyer to file charges, including but not limited to Ethan using my card without permission, robbing me in public, maliciously editing audio to slander me, and certain internet users who helped spread rumors. HD videos and clear audio supported our evidence. Ethan and Rachel were arrested by the police. The truth and turnaround happened unexpectedly. My roommate and friend's clarification video was trending. My cousin uploaded a video from outside a restaurant showing Ethan stealing a car, hitting people, and not paying. School surveillance clearly showed Ethan grabbing my bag. Full audio recordings leaked online, and the IP address from which the harassment audio was posted was traced to an internet cafe. The cafe's surveillance showed that Ethan was using the computer at that time, solidifying their image as ungrateful and deceitful. In their own clarification video, their details were exposed too. Ethan had a grandfather who killed his grandmother and a father who drank heavily and drove his mother away. Justice-driven internet users unearthed all their histories. Ethan had pursued me for over a year, but had only a 6-month fling with Rachel. Netizens did a timeline comparison and thoroughly condemned Ethan as a scumbag. There was a flood of online curses. Unfortunately for Ethan and Rachel, they were in police custody and couldn't experience the internet outrages I had. At just 22, they weren't experienced or cunning enough. Their plan was to use media exposure to portray me as a materialistic woman and leverage the crowd's insults and attacks to break me down. Then, Ethan would swoop back in as a savior, and I would supposedly fall madly in love with him. In TV dramas and novels, that's usually how it goes. The man helps the woman at her lowest, and she's bound to him forever, willing to be his slave and accessory. My near-death experience revealed Ethan's true nature, preventing me from falling into that trap. I deliberately acted foolish to make Ethan believe his plan was foolproof. After all, if he was willing to take care of a fool for the rest of her life, my father would have to be grateful to him, whether he liked him or not, to show his sincerity. Ethan promised my father that he and Rachel would create a video to clarify the online misunderstandings about me. Ethan was obsessed with the idea that marrying me would secure my family's wealth and change his destiny forever. He already saw me as his possession and treated my things as his own, boldly using my card. He was too eager for quick success, thinking my father was as easy to deal with as me. He forgot that my father was a businessman. A businessman never makes a losing deal. Ethan publicly exposed his own information in his HD video, guiding the online attack on himself, unrelated to me. I instructed my lawyer to visit them and ensure Ethan and Rachel saw how volatile the internet had become. They were insecure and hypocritical, most afraid of their embarrassment being exposed. They maintained a polished exterior, defending their fragile egos, but lacked true strength, unable to withstand public opinion. While awaiting judgment, 2 uninvited guests arrived at the school. Ethan's father and grandfather. They held photos of me circulated online, comparing them with the girls at the cafeteria door. Their eager and greedy eyes frightened many girls. In my previous life, I had never met them. After Ethan went to college, he cut off contact with his family. I suppose it was an online bullying incident that exposed Ethan's address, allowing them to find me through the internet. An old, withered hand grabbed my arm and a mouthful of yellow teeth emitted a foul odor. "We finally found you!" Everything happened so abruptly. I was stunned but couldn't free myself from their grip. All I could do was scream for help. The cafeteria security and some kind-hearted classmates heard me and surrounded us, saving me. "How did you get in?" "Our school doesn't allow unauthorized entry. Trespassing is illegal." A little old man with white hair pointed at me. "How can this be trespassing? We came to find her. She is my granddaughter-in-law. We're family." One classmate stepped in front of me. Human traffickers are so brazen, now coming directly into schools to kidnap people. Other classmates, their emotions stirred, started questioning the old man one by one. I shakily took out my phone and called the police. "No, my grandson is also a student here. His name is Ethan. She is his girlfriend, so she's my granddaughter-in-law, right?" He shoved the phone screen into the classmates' faces, showing some gossip put together by manipulative sources, with pictures of me and Ethan. That only worsened things. The classmates grew angrier. "Ethan has been harassing this girl. Now he's in the police station. You, as elders, should be teaching your kid better, not harassing the victim." The old man stiffened his neck and widened his eyes. "I don't care. It says online that she's Ethan's girlfriend. She got Ethan arrested, so she should take care of us. The internet says she has money. She should support us." His words left everyone in stunned silence. A furious guy from the soccer team and about a dozen others rushed at him, cursing and forcing him out of the school. They ran straight into the police car that had been called, and everyone headed to the police station together. I thought it would end there, but on Friday after school, I went out to eat and was mugged on the way back. It was Ethan's grandfather and father. Each had a knife and wore black masks. They weren't locals. Their accents and mannerisms were different. I memorized them after hearing once. They didn't recognize luxury items or understand the value of watches and bags. They only knew from the internet that those things were worth money, so they forced me to hand everything over. I complied, even giving them a hair clip worth only a few bucks. With weak legs, I returned to school, called the family driver to pick me up, and only felt safe to call the police once I was home. Now I understood where Ethan's wickedness and stupidity originated. It was genetic. In a big city full of surveillance cameras, Ethan's grandfather and father were soon caught. The lawyer explained they initially tried to deny the robbery until the police showed them the surveillance footage. Finally, they glanced at each other. "This big city has cameras everywhere now. We're going to be on TV?" I felt like my feet were frozen, as if I had plunged into an ice hole, not waiting for the verdict. I applied to withdraw from school and vanished from the city overnight with my parents. After being reborn, I always wondered how anyone could be so blinded by money that they'd kill someone for it. Clearly, we could have ended things peacefully, and he could have earned money through his own efforts. Why did Ethan have to kill me to seize my assets? Looking at Ethan's grandfather and father, who were indifferent to robbery and crime with no respect for law or morality, I finally understood. Some people are inherently bad, exuding a stench that seeps from their pores. They are irredeemably vile, and such individuals, as long as they live, are like ticking time bombs, forever posing a threat to public safety. Getting involved with them is like being entangled in a filthy old rag. Life becomes rotten, and escape seems impossible. Now that their whole family was incarcerated, it was the perfect time for me to sever all ties with Ethan, that scum. The following spring, I contacted the lawyer one last time. Ethan received 12 years, Rachel 5 years, and Ethan's grandfather and father 10 years each. After settling the lawyer's fees, I canceled my phone number, cutting all connections with my past. Spring symbolizes renewal, marking my true rebirth. After dropping out, I didn't abandon my education. I set my sights abroad and gradually submitted applications. I received an offer from a respectable school. Before the new semester began, I joined my parents on a world tour after my mind and body had healed. In September, I embarked on a new journey in life.